This is James Arnold Taylor, voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Welcome to a more civilized podcast. This is the podcast you're looking for. You may not go about your business. Stay here, listen, and then move along.
Well, hey there, Star Wars fans. We're back for one more week. I'm Kyler.
I'm Chris. Dang it! It's gonna screw him up. He saw me readying.
I did. I was like, what's going on over there?
And this guy's Ross.
Oh, I thought you wanted to do it again. Yes, I am Ross.
Dang it. I was going to say, we can do it again. I was like,
we can do it again,
yeah. Lost.
Yeah.
No, we don't need. Yeah, if it's not real, I'm not going to screw it up.
If that's your first time listening to us,
actual...
just wait till next week, and then you can figure out who we are.
Or go back and listen to the past episodes.
You can binge our past episodes. I'd be okay with that. Boost our numbers. So we have some, as per the usual arrangement, we have some news from Ross.
The usual newsy news? Which, I mean, I've been doing this for a while now, so that is the norm.
I hate you so much.
You all can't see it, but Kyler is just slowly crumbling with every single one of these that we do. It's just like dying a little bit at a time.
And all of you that are supportive of Ross in this chicanery are dead to me.
You know, I keep forgetting I need to make a shirt that's, like Team Newsy News or something.
No! Stop it! Don't.
Anyway, on to the newsy news.
Oh, I forgot an announcement.
Oh.
We have a non-news announcement.
Okay.
Pinned to our Twitter and to the top of our Facebook group is a link to the survey that I made, and it's a highly adequate survey, let me tell you. I realized after some people had responded and I couldn't change the questions anymore that some of the answers were basically all the same. I don't care.
I wondered, but I was like, well,
Yeah, I don't really care. It's good enough. It's adequate. So go and fill it out. Unless you're one of the, at current, 5 people who have already filled it out. Go fill it out. We want to hear your responses. It is for a future episode, so you are helping give us content directly.
Get your friends and family to fill it out. If they haven't listened to the podcast, make them sit down and binge the whole thing, and then fill it out.
And there are options for that. So, So, and then we'll.
I was going through there, and one of those I was just like, oh yes, definitely option 4 is my answer to that one.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was like, wait, was that you that filled that out?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't do that.
Okay.
I did look at that and go like, oh, I can guarantee you a few people are going to select option 4 just to be
Somebody
funny.
already has. That's why I asked if it was you. Anyway, so go fill that out. Okay, Ross, go. Take the news away.
The newsy news.
No, just the news.
You keep thinking I'm going to forget it. It's not going to happen. It's too much of a thing. So, to start us off, we have some rumor mill... I was going to try and make an announcement, but it just didn't work already. We have some rumors to debunk, which we've already talked about, and it's already kind of been a thing. So, because I believe this news... anyway, sorry, I'll cut that out.
Yeah.
So, Rian Johnson has talked about, or we've had some news on Rian Johnson's new trilogy.
Correct.
And he's talking about how it's not going to have any legacy characters in it.
Right.
It's going to be completely removed from...
The main difference with this piece of news is that Rian Johnson is coming out and essentially confirming what we suspected would happen, where he is coming out and saying, yes, officially, this isn't going to be touching... Yeah,
an interview where he said, this is going to be far away from that. We're going to be exploring new ground.
There won't be any legacy characters. So, a lot of the stuff that we generally assumed would happen is now just confirmed.
No, he did right out from the beginning when it was announced, said that it was going to be something removed.
Yeah, but it was more vague than what he's given in this interview. He's making a lot of excuse me. He's making a lot of specifics about it, saying there will be no legacy characters. Mm-hmm. This will be like far removed, a different part of the galaxy from what we've seen, or something. So I don't know. It's just confirming some suspicions we'd had.
Yeah.
So
assuming, of course, that no executives freak out and go, "You can't have a Star Wars movie without making references. That's what the nerds live and breathe."
Well, I mean, you can have references, but without necessarily
without actually using
touching the legacy characters. And this is my struggle with, because even after Chris's very well argued presentation on The Last Jedi, Episode 6 concerning The Last Jedi, if you want to go listen to it, it's still just not my favorite at all. It's still probably my either least or second to least favorite Star Wars movie. And it's not, I think, and the reason it is that low for me is because I feel that his Luke is like out of character for what we've seen. I know, Chris, we've gone there, but that's my feeling. And so but the rest of the movie, like he did a good job with it. And so I think if he gets a chance to play in the universe, but just don't play with pre-established characters that we can't have any preconceptions about, I think it'll be really pretty good.
I would think so, but he might play with preconceived types and situations. What if there's a Jedi in it that he doesn't do normal Jedi things with? No?
I'm fine with that. There are plenty of Jedi who don't do normal Jedi things. Anakin.
Sure. But again, I'm sure it would just add more fuel to
Well, there's enough stuff in the current EU that show how, like, Force users, for example, interact with the Force and kind of what the rules are for these different societies that aren't integrated into the Jedi, where it's like, this is some backwater world that nobody's ever heard of. They don't hardly even have technology, but they still have Force users, and how does that culture interact with them and interpret the Force, you know? And so there's enough out there that I'm like, that he could vary it up with that. I'd be totally okay with that, because again, he's specifically saying, like, here's something.
Yeah.
Like, we're going in a new direction that is unrelated.
It doesn't matter how far he gets. There will always be, like, a large portion of people who complain about The Last Jedi do so, if not purely based on, at least significantly based on political reasons. There are a lot of conservatives that really don't like it because they feel like he's putting liberal messages in. There are a lot of liberals who only like it because they feel like he's putting liberal messages in. And there is a subset of the fandom who, no matter what, if they feel he's saying something using Star Wars that, quote unquote, should not be said with Star Wars because Star Wars is not that, well then, yeah, they're going to be upset. Mm-hmm. It's always possible to upset people, and there are going to be people who just dislike it because it's Rian Johnson and they've decided to hate Rian Johnson.
I'm trying very hard not to be in that category.
I think you do a pretty good job of that.
But no, I'm willing to give his trilogy a chance, specifically because it's like, okay, well, he's not going to be messing with anything that I think he shouldn't be. So, anyway.
Yeah.
But hey, more Star Wars movies.
It's true. More stuff to talk about. Next, this has been an announcement that I've been waiting so long for.
Yeah, I know, right? Unlike last week's product, where we didn't think there was clamor, then apparently there was. There is clamor and there is demand.
They are now releasing an entire Star Wars Saga Blu-ray set.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing. What set of changes are they going to have in it? Is it going to be all the updated stuff? Are they going to roll back some things that maybe they should?
From what I understand, it will be the special edition with the current changes. To my knowledge, there is still no plans from Disney to release a theatrical version of.
Not even theatrical. I would go back to like original special editions, like the 90s ones. But largely, I mean, some of the other changes have been good. I don't like Vader's with the Emperor.
Yeah.
I don't like changing pre-existing material. Yeah. Like, it's one thing to write a story that's like, this is not like anything we've seen from Star Wars. That's one thing. But to actually take something that has already been written and go, well, no, I'm going to alter it. That's just never.
Yeah.
If you liked this conversation, listeners, stay tuned for a future episode of this pod. We will, in fact, be discussing the changes.
Oh, maybe we should push that episode back until after. We can do it in a day.
Yeah. What? You and your addendums, you're getting carried away, man.
Ross, you're the one who does not have time for all of this.
Hey. Yeah, it's true. We specialize in being very thorough, sir.
And adequately thorough.
You know what, though?
Oh, I see what you mean.
That's the one
pushing that episode back until this Blu-ray DVD. Yeah. I agree.
Oh, okay. But I think that's the one thing we do better than adequately is we're very thorough in our
We are very thorough.
Too
I don't know. I often feel like we could be more thorough. Like we're.
Well, okay.
It depends on the episode.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, okay, this last pair of episodes that we had to split into two because they ended up long enough. We were pretty darn thorough there. But we were also only going through deaths in not even either the 10 movies. We skipped Rogue One. We skipped the anthologies.
Yeah.
It was like If we were really being thorough, we would be delving into the extended everything, all the books and the video games and this, that, and the other.
Because I was thinking about some of those after that episode. There are some we should talk about.
Yep. Nope. Yeah. We are going to have parameters to make it doable.
I'm not going to lie. When we started this, I was like, I wonder how long it is going to take us before we run out of stuff to say about the movies and are forced to delve into everything else. Yeah,
we're in a year and no signs of slowing down. So
this is it's gone longer than I expected already, and I don't feel like we're even close to being forced to do that at all.
Actually, I should be clear for the listeners. We started recording last August, but we didn't release them till the end of September. So for you guys, we're almost a year.
Yes, technically we have been doing this for a year now. That's true. Or we're like 2 weeks.
Yeah, we started after I got back from Gen Con last year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like this weekend last year.
Hey, look at that. Hey, high five, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That was also a well-synchronized dual high five. Good job.
Man, that was
more than
only
adequate.
You listeners could have seen that. That was magic. Okay.
Hopefully they'll hear it.
Yeah, and not hear my phone that just went off. Sorry, guys. Adequate. I'll silence my phone.
It was good timing. That was such a good high five. We needed to balance it out. There must be balance in the podcast.
There is balance on this podcast for sure. Anytime we do something good, we just immediately balance it. Okay, Ross.
Kyler is the chosen one. He brings balance to the podcast.
And I'm going to murder both of you. And not just you men, but the women and children, too.
We don't have any women and children here.
Oh, you're right. They're at the pool. Sorry. Okay, when they get back.
And also, most of those women and children are yours.
Yeah. So, you listeners may recall, you may remember, you may know that I'm a historian.
Wait, what?
I know, right? I hardly ever bring it up. And roughly a third of my graduate education, and really probably a quarter or a third of my undergraduate education, dealt fairly heavily or explicitly with religion in Europe. So it's something that I know a little bit about and interested in a little bit. So this episode is going to be about religion, but please don't turn off the podcast yet because I know, right? Touchy subject. Please stick with us. Bear with me.
I'm just like, you're assuming that is a reason for most of them to lie. Like, there's a few people. Please don't. But
yeah. So we are going to talk about, as you've probably guessed by the title, we're going to talk about the religious influences, the real-world religious influences on the Force and the Jedi, and
so in the past we did an episode where we talked about all the different media and history that George Lucas drew from to create the original movies and the prequels and everything, where he was like, yeah, I'm going to steal from this and this and this to craft this. And now we're talking about his real world influences.
So that
in
episode
crafting
was sort of
the
like
Force
pop culture influences, and this is religious influences that of course also showed up in those pop culture things, especially like the Kurosawa films and stuff where you have Bushido Code and things like that. But so we're diving a little deeper today. But first, Chris has just some funny.
A little deeper. Oh, sorry.
That's good. Anyway,
reflex.
So Chris is going to share with us some ridiculous facts and statistics.
Yes, let's talk about Jediism. So as long as we're talking about Star Wars and religion, we would be remiss not to mention Jediism is a philosophy mainly based on the depiction of the Jedi characters in Star Wars media. It is a recognized religion in numerous countries. They acknowledge the influence of Star Wars on the religion by following the moral and spiritual codes demonstrated by the fictional Jedi, but they do insist that their path is different from that. I am unsure how many people exist that are actually taking this seriously as their approach to, like, this is actually a philosophy upon which, by which I live my life. I mean, someone's obviously going to some effort to collect teachings and create maxims. There is at least one example on this page as I'm reading about a gentleman who... actually multiple people who were kicked out of stores and other buildings for refusing to remove their Jedi hoods.
Yeah, I remember that.
and getting legal recognition of their right to wear those hoods even in situations where it would normally not be allowed because it is a recognized religious icon at this point.
Which is funny because the Jedi clearly remove their hoods all the time,
Right.
so it's not like it's against your religion.
So that is fairly arbitrary, which makes me feel like this is more of a
real life trolling turned into a religion.
but more like people going the extra mile in their real life trolling.
By the way, if you are an actual Jedi as your claimed religion, I want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Please, email us or something, because dang.
And about that last one where the guy, they had he was able to fight for his rights to wear his hood. I'm more disappointed in the prosecution lawyer in his lack of geeky study than just being like,
Jedi take their hoods off all the time.
Yeah. It's just you being...
If we actually go by a scene-by-scene count, you'll actually find that Jedi have their hoods not on more often than not. Thank you.
By far.
The prosecution rests.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. I mean, Obi-Wan has it up in the rain on Kano, and when he's trying to be sneaky.
Yeah. But all the defense has to do to combat that is to point out that the followers of Jediism specifically acknowledge Star Wars, but are not basing this exclusively on Star Wars. So they can still argue that is a religious tenet of theirs, belief, even if it's not from the movies. Anyway, this all began with the 2001 Jedi Census phenomenon, a grassroots movement that urged residents of a number of English-speaking countries to record their religion as Jedi or Jedi Knight in the national census, primarily as a joke. It's the largest response to this, the most successful response to this, occurred in the United Kingdom, where in England and Wales, 390,127 people stated their religion as Jedi on their forms.
That's more people than live at my house.
That is more people than in the United Kingdom put Sikhism, Judaism, or Buddhism as their religions.
All for the lulz.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
The percentages were Christian, just non-specific denominational Christian, 70%, no religion 16%, chose not to respond 7.8%, Muslim 3.1%, Hindu 2.1%, and Jedi 0.7%, almost 0.8%. And based on the results of that census, Jedi was assigned its own code in the United Kingdom for census processing and is now registered as a common answer to the religion question, not as an official religion recognition, it turns out. So it's not tax exempt or anything. Though in Texas, apparently, it is a tax exempt organization.
Really?
Yep. Yes.
Texas.
Yeah, of all places.
Yeah. According to the 2011 census figures, the number of Jedi have fallen to 176,632, but that's still pretty astounding.
Yeah,
that
it really
10
is.
years later, you've still got more than half of those people saying, nope, Jedi. In Scotland, the Scots did not have much patience for those shenanigans, and only 14,000 people stated Jedi as their religion. But
only 14,000.
Yes, but that is enough for the overall totals for the 2001 census for the entire UK to top 400,000.
That's so crazy.
Yep. It is also, they also received impressive amounts in Australia with more than 70,000 people reporting as Jedi. And then those have, in 2006 it dropped to 58,000, and then in 2011 picked back up to 65.
Hey, wow.
So the Australians are still on board. 2016 it's down to 48,000. So okay, the Australians are all over the place. Who knows?
Maybe some of them are falling to the dark side, so they don't
that's
count as
possible.
Sith, or as Jedi for the year, and then maybe they get redeemed and it's sort of back
who knows?
on.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
In Canada they got 21,000, and Croatia 303.
Boy, that's a lot,
Yeah, it is. Czech Republic had a pretty solid 15,000 people, which you'll note is the first one I've mentioned here. After Croatia, we had a few. That isn't an English-speaking country, so to get that many people in the Czech Republic is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Ireland had over 2,000. Montenegro had a few. New Zealand had 53,000. Serbia had 640, and Turkey had several thousand. It is non-specific. Anyway, pretty impressive. I cannot find any information on the United States other than the fact that in Texas it is a tax-exempt organization. But
Well, that's odd that there aren't stats for here, because I feel like, especially the US and the UK being so friendly, not only in political, but in
Well, and also Star Wars being a United States phenomenon, it came out of America.
Yeah.
But there's enough communication, especially with the internet. We're hanging out with other English-speaking countries.
You
all
would
the
think
time.
there would be more in the U.S.
Yeah.
If you got that sort of response in Canada and in Australia, both separated by pretty significant amounts of water from England, you'd think it wouldn't be any different for the U.S., but I just don't have the numbers. It might be that way.
Or maybe the Americans just aren't as cool as the Great White North, eh?
Well, that's a silly thing to say. Anyway.
Yeah, it's true, eh? Apologies to the sometime Canadian listeners in, like, Saskatchewan and Alberta.
They're all just sitting there going, like, what does he know, eh?
Yay. Oh, wow. So that's...
No apologies to our friends who live in America and pretend that they're Canadian. You don't fool us.
Yeah. Wait, what? I'm so confused. I'm gonna just move on. So that was the real world, quote unquote, real world Jedi religion based on the Star Wars movies Jedi religion,
which itself upon
is drawing upon several real world religions. Slash philosophies. So, want to make that pedantic distinction because, as a historian, I am nothing if not pedantic.
Hey, I'm an editor. I hear you.
Yeah, exactly. So, the first one, and one of the bigger influences, is actually Confucianism. And this is where I made the distinction between philosophy and religion, because Confucianism is not technically a religion, it is a philosophy. And so many people get that wrong. And it drives me nuts. So, a little bit of history for you. So I've got each of these sort of broken down into at least two similar, or two categories per sort of item on my list. There's the history, and then there's like the beliefs, just because I can't resist throwing in some history. So here we go. Confucianism developed from what was later called the 100 Schools of Thought, which were based on the teachings of the Chinese philosopher Confucius, hence the name, Confucianism. Who lived from 551 to 479 BC, who considered himself a recodifier and retransmitter of the theology and values inherited from the Shang dynasty, circa 1600 to 1046 BC, and the Zhao dynasties, 1046 to 256 BC. So he's right. He's right in the middle of the Zhao dynasty himself.
Yeah.
And so he basically is just kind of like, hey, we've got a lot of... And this happens all the time throughout history, where people are like, we've got a whole lot of good ideas out there. Let's just make them more concise and get them in one place, right?
Codify.
Yeah, the Emperor Justinian, Napoleon, the 12 tables in Rome.
It's also a handy way to erase the parts you don't want.
Exactly! Council of Nicaea.
Emperor Palpatine.
Palpatine, exactly. So, the beliefs of Confucianism. The worldly concern of Confucianism rests upon the belief that human beings are fundamentally good and teachable. Anybody who's actually taught might have some disagreement about that. Kids are the worst. Improvable and perfectible through personal... What?
For the record, I have had a different experience.
With children? And teaching?
Yeah.
Oh.
Remember, I taught high school from...
I did not know that.
You did?
Yeah.
What? When? Where?
At a private school up here.
I didn't know that.
Right before I got married.
Ross.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Taught a
I
graphic
did not know
design
that.
course. And,
I remember. No, I do remember that now. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
I do remember. Yeah, the design... Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I thought you were
remember.
teaching that at a college.
Yeah, okay.
No, it was at a little private high school.
Okay.
Well,
so I kind of straddle the line between how awful kids are and what teaching them is like, so we might have to have a debate.
Yeah. So, people are good, teachable, improvable, and perfectible through personal and communal endeavor, especially self-cultivation and self-creation. Confucian thought focuses on the cultivation of virtue in a morally organized world. Some of the basic Confucian ethical concepts and practices include Ren, Yi, and Li, and Ji. Ren, or benevolence or humanness, is the essence of the human being, which manifests as compassion. So being compassionate. And that's literally like one of the Jedi codes that Anakin mentions, right? That we're supposed to be compassionate.
Which is where, of course, they got the name for Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren because of their great compassion.
That would be... Yes. That would be interesting. Compassion, it's the virtue form. It is the virtue form of heaven. Yi is the upholding of righteousness and the moral disposition to do good. So again, you can kind of see that Jedi code in there, right? That you should be upholding the law. You should be out there trying to do something good, right? Li is a system of, and I'm probably butchering these Chinese names horribly. Some of them I know how to pronounce, others I have
a lot
no
of the
idea.
single syllable ones are pretty straightforward.
They are, but I just want to throw it out there because we had listeners in Taiwan. So those of you that are out there, I apologize. I'm sorry. Doing the best I can. So Li's a system.
We got a lot of languages around here, but Chinese is not one we got a lot of depth in.
Yeah. Yeah, between us, it's what? Russian, Italian, German, French, Spanish, and Southern.
And ASL.
ASL? Oh, really? Who?
Me.
Oh, I didn't know
mean-
ASL. Ross.
Yeah.
I'm learning all sorts of things. I swear, we've been friends for a long time. I should know these things.
You would
So, let's see. Li is a system of ritual norms and propriety that determines how a person should properly act in everyday life in harmony with the law of heaven. And that, again, seems really sort of Jedi-esque, right? That what you're doing, the good that you're doing, needs to be in harmony with the Force. They say that all the time, especially like in the Clone Wars and stuff, as Anakin is trying to teach Ahsoka, and in Rebels as Ezra's learning, especially from Yoda, there's a lot of this. Ji is the ability to see what is right and fair, or the converse, in the behaviors exhibited by others. Confucianism holds one in contempt, either passively or actively, for failure to uphold the cardinal moral values of Ren. So,
Does that also have people collect toe? What? Yes, Chris got it.
Giotto.
Yeah.
oh yeah, true.
It's a Wheel of Time reference.
Yeah,
Yep.
nice little
Good
Easter egg for you
times.
Wheel of Time fans. out
Yeah.
there.
Okay, so that's Confucianism. There's a lot of that idea, that sort of the philosophy of the Jedi, right? That compassion, you should be doing good, but your behaviors ought to be in harmony with heaven and in balance and things. Just kind of see that. Taoism, again, more philosophy than religion, but
Yeah.
whatever.
That line can get blurry.
A little
Yeah,
bit, yeah. So this originates in 4th century China. So this is actually kind of around the time that Confucius himself is living. It's based on extremely old Chinese texts, namely the I Ching, which explain a philosophical system about keeping human behavior in accordance with the alternating cycles of nature. So while nature is chaos and it's changing around you, you need to stay calm and stay balanced and stay centered, right? Which again, I mean, tell me that's not like the whole Jedi thing, right? Is
Yeah.
that you need to calm your emotions. You're too. What do they always tell Anakin? Like, oh, there's much fear in you. Like, I sense that you're like troubled or whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of chaos, but Anakin need to bring it in.
Well, and
You need
Snoke
to-
yells at Kylo Ren
Yeah.
for being unbalanced. After
Yeah,
killing him.
exactly. The Tao Te Ching, a compact book, contains the teachings attributed to Lao Tzu, who is sort of the founder of this idea, is widely considered the keystone work of the Taoist tradition. So, what is Taoism? The beliefs, right? It is similar to Confucianism in the same sense that it's a teaching about the various disciplines for achieving perfection by becoming one with the unplanned rhythms of the universe called the Way, or the Tao.
Or the Force.
Right. Well, that's interesting because in some of the expanded universe, if I'm not mistaken, the Force is called the Way sometimes in a couple of like those really remote cultures or what. I can't remember. I want to say I read it in a book like in the last like 6 months, but I don't want, so I couldn't.
Well, I know there was one where Han runs across a kid who was beginning to be trained, but he doesn't even know the name of the Force and says a couple things.
Yeah.
It might be that.
But either way, you can easily see where it's like, okay, well, you need to follow the Force, right? And the Force is this way to achieve perfection, to get in harmony with unplanned rhythms around you and be balanced, right? Taoist ethics vary depending on the particular school, but in general tend to emphasize Wu Wei, action without intention, naturalness, simplicity, spontaneity, and the 3 treasures: compassion, frugality, and those 3 treasures I wanted to specifically talk about.
I was going to say.
Because again, we see compassion show up again, and that's a central tenet of the Jedi philosophy, right? Be compassionate to those
Jedi's
around
are
you.
encouraged to be compassionate.
Exactly,
Which
we're encouraged to love.
Yeah, I might say we're encouraged.
Frugality, and of course that makes me, and we're gonna talk more about this later,
Yes.
and even more in depth in another episode that I have planned. I can't wait. But asceticism. Right?
Yeah.
Live frugally, live without comforts. The Jedi robes are very plain. You're not supposed to have these really ornate, dressings like the senators or whatever, right? It's very, very, keep it simple, keep it plain,
Austere.
Austere. There we go. That's good. And humility, right? The Jedi aren't supposed to be like, well, I'm a Jedi, I'm just the greatest thing ever, right? It's supposed to be humble, and that's part of Anakin's problem, actually, is that he's a little bit of like, well, I am the chosen one, I did just rescue the Senator and defeat a Sith Lord and successfully land a crashing starship,
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you wanted me to do? Who here blew up an entire battle station by accident as a child?
At the age of 8.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah,
exactly. Never forget that Anakin's taste for mass murder started early. Oh, shoot. So a recurrent... Back to the beliefs of Taoism.
Little known fact, Watto used to have about 30 slaves.
And not just men, but women and children, too. Oh, man. Oh. A recurrent and important element of Taoism are rituals, exercises, and substances aiming at aligning oneself spiritually with cosmic forces. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, we see the Jedi all the time in meditation doing their, yoga stuff, whatever, to specifically align themselves with the Force, this great cosmic, spirituality. At undertaking ecstatic spiritual journeys, Lindsay, that's for you. It's coming up, I promise, okay? Force visions and stuff like that, right? Or at improving physical health and thereby extending one's life, ideally to the point of immortality, which sadly is not a power you become the Jedi.
Well, there is a path to immortality.
That's right.
Moving beyond this physical existence.
Right, that's true. Yeah, the living force.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. And this was interesting too. So, Taoism had a lot more and this is where it kind of blurs the line a little bit into more religious stuff, is they had a lot more symbols in there that almost had sort of like a religious feel to it, more than just a philosophy. One of them in particular, I was like, a lot of them I was like, okay, well, whatever, but one of them I'm like, we're going to mention this because, especially with episode 8, it's there. Please forgive me, the Taijitu, commonly known as the yin and yang, is one of their more prominent symbols of Taoism. One can see the symbol as a decorative element on Taoist organization flags and logos, temple floors, and that's what we see with the Prime Jedi mosaic in the floor on Ahch-To. But if you look at it, it's clearly an homage to yin and yang.
Yeah.
It's black and white, it's half and half, it has black and white in both halves that mirror each other. It's very, very obviously a yin-yang illusion, right? Or stitched into clerical robes. According to Song Dynasty sources, it originated around the 10th century AD. Previously, a tiger and a dragon had symbolized yin and yang, which, dang, that would have been cool to see, right?
I think I've seen some of those,
actually. Oh, really?
Or similes of them.
Oh, I didn't bother looking it up. I'm sure I could find it, but I'm like, oh, dang, a tiger and a dragon? That's dope.
Yeah.
But yeah, to see that show up now, and again, for everything that yin and yang represents, right, that it is balanced. There's light and dark, there's good and evil, and you kind of need both for everything to be in harmony. That is a 9-movie theme of Star Wars, or presumably a 9-movie theme. I guess I'll have to wait till episode 9 comes out before I can say that officially. But reasonably, that's
seems unlikely they'll mess with that.
Yeah, exactly. But that's awesome. So beliefs. What is Taoism, right? Oh wait, I just went through that. Sorry.
I was
yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. So Buddhism. Here's actual religion, which again a little bit less philosophy, but still in there. So Buddhism originated in ancient India as a Sramana tradition sometime between the 6th and 4th centuries BC, spreading throughout much of Asia, including up into China. Beliefs, an important guiding principle. Not all of these apply. I'm just kind of pulling out the ones that are specifically Star Warsy here. An important guiding principle of Buddhist practice is the middle way. I'm not going to attempt to say it there because there's a lot of weird consonants in there. It was part of the Buddha's first sermon where he presented the Noble Eightfold Path that was a middle way between the extremes of asceticism and hedonistic sense pleasure. So again, finding balance. You don't need to be totally ascetic, but you don't need to be totally hedonistic, which is funny for a guy who supposedly ascetic himself to death. whatever. I did include these because the Eightfold Path here, because some of these are really, really that's like straight up part of the Jedi Code, which I thought was interesting. So the first fact, or the factor is what they call them here, the first of the 8 paths, right?
Yes.
Is wisdom. Belief that there's an afterlife, which there kind of is. I mean, they do talk about the afterlife being one with the Force and things like that. And this is having the right view of the world. Then the second thing is having the right intention. So giving up home and adopting the life of a religious mendicant or a monk in order to follow the path. So you need to dedicate yourself wholly, like you give up your family to join the order. That's the Jedi, right? So that's the right intention. Right speech, no lying, no rude speech, no telling a person what another says about him, speaking that which... anyway, so basically, like, don't gossip, right? And again, that's Jedi,
don't
right?
gossip.
You need to be honest. You know?
Don't snark. No punchlines.
Yeah. Oh, and
stop
so
it, Obi-Wan.
The first division of these, the first 2 of the 8 are in sort of like the wisdom category is what they have. So then you have the right view and the right intention.
Then you get the charisma
then we get
category.
the
strength.
exactly. The moral virtues, the first of which is this third path here, the right speech. Then there's right action. No killing, no injuring. Right, the Jedi are supposed to be peacekeepers, which is hilarious because they become murderous generals.
We theoretically try for not killing.
Sexual acts in your monastic pursuit. So that is, again,
Which
super
in
Jedi.
Star Wars, is generally implied to be
the
approach
case.
they take.
Yeah.
I read an article a while back that was titled, "Of course Jedi are allowed to have sex." And it went through, this was from Tor.com, and it went through talking about how, like, no, what they're forbidden is emotional attachment. It's not the physical act necessarily. And I was just like, yeah, because,
The two are so easily separated.
They're so separated. Nobody has ever tried to have emotion-free sex and had that lead to emotional attachment at all.
I believe every single sitcom ever has at least one episode dedicated to that very parody. Phenomenon. Right livelihood for monks. They need to, this is the 5th part of the path. For monks, they need to beg, only possessing what is essential to sustain life. So, not quite that extreme with the Jedi, but again, the Jedi aren't supposed to have 1,000,001 things. You got your robes, you got your lightsaber, that's about all you're supposed to have as far as personal possessions go as a Jedi, right? Your change of clothes.
Your rebreather.
Yeah, like you might have, like some basic equipment, but like they're not
your
hoarding,
artificial hand.
They're not like hoarding piles of credits. They're not hoarding gold. Like they have credits available to them to achieve it, but it's not.
But Republic
it's
credits
not personal.
Are useless. So.
They are. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Qui-Gon had a large stack that he was able to.
I believe those were the queens. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Oh, well, but then also again, Obi-Wan offers a lot of money on Alderaan, or for the trip doll,
because he knows the Rebel Alliance will pay for
they're
it.
offering the money the money that they put down, like you can have the 2,000 now is from selling Luke's speeder, and then he's counting on the Rebels paying the rest, and or planning on stiffing Han. Who knows?
I'm sitting here trying. Yeah, that would be fun.
It's breaking his right speech, no lying.
I'm trying to think. We see the inside of Obi-Wan's house. There really isn't anything.
It's essentially the stuff necessary to sustain life.
He has a rug, doesn't he? Isn't that on his floor?
Gotta wipe his feet
somewhere. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, basically like that you don't want to become attached to worldly things. No attachments.
That rug was actually just the cloak of a sand person.
Yeah. And then the final category is meditation. So we're going past the physical now into the spiritual.
Yeah.
The right effort is number 6. Guard against sensual thoughts. So, okay, that's kind of already been there. Right mindfulness. This is one that I'm like, okay, I have to include this chart then. Because literally that word mindful is used a couple of times in, I believe, the original trilogy. Never be absent-minded.
Be mindful of your feelings.
Be mindful of your feelings. His mind was always on the future, never on where he was, right? What he was doing. Conscious of what one is doing.
Hey.
Wow.
So literally, that's the first sentence there. Never be absent-minded, conscious of what one is doing. That's literally what Yoda says. This was your dad's problem. He didn't do these things. Don't you make the same mistake. And there it is. So I was like, oh man, yes, throw it in. This states this historian or religious dude, whatever, encourages mindfulness about the impermanence of the body, feelings, and mind, as well as to experience the 5 skandhas, the 5 hindrances The 4 True Realities and 7 Factors of Awakening. I don't know, I'm not a Buddhist, sorry. Europe is my thing, not Asia. But regardless, they're those...
Of the 3 of us, only I have been to Asia.
That's true.
And most of that was not visits to area that people typically think about when they think of Asia.
That is true.
I was in Russia.
But that first sentence is so great. Never be absent-minded, conscious of what one is doing. That's so great. Then, right concentration, correct meditation or concentration, explained by the 4 jhanas. Maybe it's jhanas.
It could be Hanas.
No, the J is definitely a J sound. But yeah, correct meditation and concentration. Yeah. I thought the first thing that I thought when I read that was actually in the Kanan comics, where Kanan is feeling troubled and he's excited to be a part of the war and let's go kill some battle droids and whatever. And his master Depa Balaba's like, your head's in the wrong place.
Yeah, you're can't kill battle droids. Yeah. They're not alive.
Yeah, she's like, you're way too excited. This is a problem we're seeing with you younger Jedi. You're not being mindful. You're not properly in balance. So let's work through some forms. And then it's like 4 full pages of just panel after panel of them going through lightsaber practices, but it looks like yoga and meditation. So I was like, well, there it is. So that was the first thing that came to mind when I saw that. Well, we hope you enjoyed part 1 of this religious influences on the Force.
We're going to wrap up here
because we have a lot more to talk about next time.
And we're trying to be careful with our time for Ross's sake,
and also for your sake, because our
if
intention.
That man gets angry, he can make us say anything he wants.
That's very. At this point, he probably could. There's enough material there.
The problem is that I have to search through it.
So these 2. All right, we're saved by his laziness.
It's good to know that he does not have a queued up set of.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have a few.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Ross just wants to remind us that he has unlimited power.
I have one particular clip that I'm saving for a particular discussion, which we haven't had since I found it.
Oh no,
that's going to be great. We're going to get
really
in the middle
afraid
of this
of what it
discussion,
is.
And then Ross is just going to. We're going to have a little cut in of Ross being like, "Dear listeners,
yes,
I would like to remind you of this."
Yeah. Yes, no, that's pretty much the plan. Yeah.
Oh no,
is it a clip of him or me?
It's going to be me.
Or both. Come on,
is
man.
Is it Chris? I'm off the hook? Sweet.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, no.
I'm just going to let you guys wonder.
We're gonna writhe.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, as always.
I'm not worried. I've never been inconsistent.
Yeah, exactly. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at More Civilized and join our Facebook group, A More Civilized Podcast, and fill out our dang survey so that we can use it for making.
Please make sure you get
better.
The dang survey and not any other survey.
Say, God, you get so angry when asking our listeners to do something. It's fine.
It's not that hard to do a survey.
just
I'm also assuming that not many of them have done it in the intervening weeks since I put it up.
I feel like you're out of balance.
All right,
let's go do some lightsaber forms.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we have lightsabers handy.
That's true.
So.
Oh, it's me. That's right. Wow. This week, our favorite listener goes to my little sister, Lindsay.
Hello, Lindsay.
For posting my favorite meme of In a Rubish.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. That was so funny.
Yeah.
I showed that to Christina. I'm like, this is great. Look at it. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, you don't get it. So uncivilized.
Right. I feel like I'm probably going to do a lot more posting in the group in Arubish. I have an app that lets you type it in. And then you can save it as a picture and post it. It's even nice enough to do the double letter stuff. That's great. Maybe we should do an episode.
Arubish. Cool.
It's not a lot there, though. Maybe a nugget.
Okay.
We'll see. Anyway, you can also follow me on Twitter at Mr_R_Star, and you can send me your Arubish memes.
Yay! He would love them.
I would, actually, really would.
You can find me on Twitter at Itinerant Baxter. And on Twitter or Facebook, please let us know if there's any subjects you'd like to hear us cover here on the podcast. Or, any, as long as they're related to Star Wars. And we'll probably won't get too much into it.
Yep. So until next time, may the Force be with you.
Always.
I'm Anna Graves, and thank you for listening to a more civilized podcast.
I have quite a bit on Shaolin monks, and then it's Christianity, and my note is ad lib.
Yeah. I enjoyed your guys' things that you could say to warn people that it wasn't really you.
Yeah. And thanks to Ross, I'd be totally dead.
I was going to do it, and then I saw Ross already had.
What?
The same thing you did.
Okay.
Oh, good to see you came around on that.
Hate you. Here I am. I try to save you, Ross, and you let me die.
It sounded right to me. You finally figured it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Come
We've been
on.
working on this for a while now.
You should know better.
But yeah, Jedi is just
See,
like, no, yeah.
Really,
I'll
it should
buy
be
that.
something like history is a sham. You know.
Well,
Nobody should ever study history.
Yeah.
Well,
Nobody should
job.
study history. Star Wars is lame.
Yeah, that actually was. Star Wars is lame. This isn't Kyler. What's going on?
Star Wars is lame. Where can I get more anime?
Yeah.